I talk to you all the time about how I have sort of fantasies of when I get done with all this technology baloney that I'm going to go and work at something like I want to own a garbage company or something, or commercial cleaning or something. But you went and found the guy doing it the best.
I did. So I booked this for you. We're always interested in stories of success from unusual places. And I think every entrepreneur has a unique story. So this is, to me, the story of someone who made a choice between a corner office where they were and a completely blank slate in a new place, starting over, building a brand new business in a new country. So Luiz Thomaz DaCosta was an executive at SC Johnson and Ecolab in Brazil and came to the United States and started a completely new business in commercial cleaning with an unusual business model. So we'll talk about that.
Hi everyone, Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
Who did you look at today, Kerry?
Us.
I looked at the NASCAR guy whose name I always forget.
Ryan Priest. Ryan Priest.
He's very nice. I see also that my dad is here. Good morning to you. Hello, Chloe. How's everybody? We should bring Louise on from Modular Concepts, who's doing this cool business, and then we will start asking questions everywhere. Ready for me? Bom dia, Luiz. Hello, welcome to the show.
Bom dia. That's good Portuguese. Thank you very much. Hello to you all.
Obrigado. So we're so glad to have you here because that story of being an executive at SC Johnson, everybody must have said, but Luis, you made it. You made it. You're there. You're an executive now. And then you went, nah, I think I have another idea. How? Why?
Very good. So yeah, no, you're right. I have made it. I made my career at SC Johnson, excellent company. We had some changes in terms of mergers and fusions and all that stuff that corporations do. Things weren't like that great. Then I went to Ecolab, which was a competitor, right? And I was even better at Ecolab. But as most of us will find out at some point in life, financial success is not necessarily absolute success. So that's why I wasn't done at that point.
But why relocate? So if you're doing well where you are in Brazil, comfortable, new company, interesting job, executive suite, what makes you pull up stakes and move to a whole new country?
Great question. Family, and the desire to give them a better life, a safer life. So Brazil is a great country. I'm very proud to be Brazilian. But it's also a very violent and very corrupt country with a culture of violence and corruption. So I always tell this story. One day I was with my kids and I made a reference to a nice car, which is nice car for Brazil. It was like a Dodge Caravan here, like really not a big deal, but for Brazil that was great. And I mentioned that, I think I'm gonna, try to buy a car like that. And my daughter, who was 8 at that time, she said, "No, Daddy, if you buy that car, they will kill you for the car." And that was like, man, like how come an 8-year-old is already like thinking those things? So that's ingrained, that's the culture, right? That you grow up with. And I really didn't want them to grow up with that mentality in that kind of culture and environment. So I made a decision to pursue a better future for them by bringing them to a different culture, to a place where you could succeed and not be afraid that your success would cost you your life, or at least that the chances were, not as great as it was in Brazil. And so that was the spring, the motivation for the change.
Now, there's so many I mean, with entrepreneurship, there are so many ways to try something. There's so many places to look. Were there many ideas before you landed on commercial cleaning, and especially how you do it with the modular process? Did you have many other attempts before, or was you hit the first one and you just succeeded right away?
Yeah. Uh, well, I wish I could say, oh yeah, I had this plan and that, but not really. I need to be honest. What brought us to the U.S. was an opportunity to introduce an institutional line of paper, toilet paper, paper towels, things like that, from Brazil into the U.S. By the end of 2007. Beginning of 2008. So I did all the marketing prospection, everything that needed to be done. So it's not like I came here to be an entrepreneur. I came here as an employee of another company to introduce that line of paper here. But that didn't work because the economy collapsed in the beginning of 2008. And now I'm here. My family is here. I don't want to go back to Brazil. I lost all my backup in terms of making money or having a job. Now I need to do something. And so my English is not good now, but it was even worse before, if you can believe it. And I think I misread or misunderstood an advertisement that said, be your own boss. And it was about a franchise of a commercial cleaning. And I thought I would pay a certain amount and get a certain amount per month. It wasn't like that. When I realized that that was like a very hard thing to make a living off, I told my wife, look, the only thing that we can do now is to create volume, because from the volume, they will do all their deductions and we're still going to have enough to go by and maybe go after other stuff. And that triggered the transition that you mentioned on the banner, the initial banner that said from an executive suite to cleaning restrooms. So that's what I started to do, and that's what any one of us would do. You need to provide for your family. You need to make a living, so you do what needs to be done. So I had no plans, to be honest, Chris. My plan was to do what I came here to do. Things changed. So now we need to adapt, and that's how I end up with the commercial cleaning segment.
You didn't just start cleaning or even just franchise. You started your own business, and it has a little bit of a different business model. And now you employ others. You've grown this business. So it's actually a very exciting success story for those of us who have like secret fantasies of going off and being our own boss, right? We see that same ad, but you've done it completely differently. So how did you create a new business model different from the other commercial cleaning companies that were wanting business in your area?
Yeah, so when I was still in Brazil, I always dealt with distributors. So I started many businesses without any skin in the game. I have the backup of the international company and the financial resources of the entrepreneur in Brazil. And I would help them to start from scratch, right? Finding employees, creating a business plan, everything. So without my knowledge, all that experience and hands-on experience in creating new business, that knowledge were being accumulated. When I came here, and also my job was with a chemical company, so I knew a lot about the theory of cleaning. About chemicals, pH, and everything. So now I know theory of chemistry and cleaning. I know how to start a business, and now I'm cleaning toilets. So I'm getting the hands-on experience, right? So it's not just theory anymore. Now I can apply that and see that sometimes theory is not really what happens when you need it to happen. And with that, I also have my own education. I graduated college. I'm a bachelor in business administration. I also have an extension with the University of Notre Dame for business strategy. So all that together, we got to a point that we got the volume that I mentioned before, and now the franchise is no longer a viable model because it kind of punishes success and volume. So we were, thank God, we were able to legally separate from that franchise at some point. And then we started our own company with all that background that I mentioned. And I had the opportunity now to make that work for us, but also for our customers and for our community and everything. So it was much more than just like a business plan. It was more like, let's succeed here as a whole plan by doing everything at the same time, by trying to do a good business for us, a different business for our customers, and a relevant business for our community.
So speaking about business, I'm going to plug one of our two sponsors, and this is our friend Chloe Forbes Kinlan, who has done a lot with using the platform Notion to help people do onboarding, to help people do their quarterly reports, their annual tasks, build CRMs, and so much more. You can go to businessops.co/backpack to get your starter kit from Chloe. Chloe is who we reach out to anytime we want somebody to understand how they could use easier, better tools to make their business thrive. So check that out. Luis, you said something about, in separating from the franchise, which is it's so much work, and there's a lot of legal hoops and there's a lot of cost. But on the other side of it, you have to hope and pray that you keep the volume and that you can make up for that, etc. There's a lot of pieces to this. My question becomes, you said, for instance, you believed you knew a lot of things about cleaning, but then in practice, of course, it's different. You also believed you knew things in business from your degree. What are some of the lessons that you picked up from those experiences? Not just cleaning lessons, but when you had to turn your business, when you had to decide you were going to make the choices you made, what are some of the lessons that you now pass on to others when they want to be business professionals like you?
Yeah, I think the main thing is do not believe that you know everything, right? Because you learn it at college or at a training, and because again, like reality will shock you many times. But with that, it comes something that there is no formal education can give you, which is the steering of your own spirit, of your own will, of your own power. So although I thought I was prepared, I just see that things are different. And now you have a choice. You can say, I cannot do this because of that. Or you can say, I'll do this in spite of that. And that's what I learned about myself. I'm much more powerful and capable than I ever believed that I could be. And although I was stripped of my pride in education, experience, and everything, I was then vested with a power that I didn't know I had. And so for me, that was the main lesson. You might think you know a lot. I guarantee you don't. But you might think you have limitations, and I guarantee you can overcome them.
Tell me about the way that you contract with clients. So it's like no contracts required. So how does it work? How's your business model different? Normally, from what I understand anyway, you pay a fee, you have a contract, people come in and they do everything, whether you want them to do everything or not. So what's your arrangement like, and how is it different?
Yeah, it's different as a whole, as the model that we operate with, from which the no contract is one of the main appeals, I would say. So the name of our company is Modular Concepts, right? So everything we do is to create a certain curiosity that will trigger an action, right? So why modular? That's the first thing, because that modular says nothing, right? It could be construction, houses, or whatever. Why modular? Well, because that's the system. I created the system. I didn't create the elements. All cleaning companies, they work with those elements, but I just ordained them or put them in a certain order that I call modules. So we work with 3 modules that when combined, we will give the customer a literally customized service schedule and experience. Those are areas, frequencies, and tasks. So different areas may require different frequencies and different tasks. Just as an example, a conference room doesn't necessarily need to be done every day. It doesn't need vacuuming every day and dusting every day. Certainly once a week, and perhaps just a touch-up, like on the other days, or if there is a meeting or no. Now, a restroom needs everything done every day: mopping, dusting, disinfection. So I should not charge for a 5 days a week thorough cleaning for a conference room that is not getting service 5 days a week, a thorough service. So by combining those modules, areas, conference room, frequency, once a week, restrooms 5 times a week, and tasks, dusting, mopping, by combining that, then we can customize something that is very fair, that is very profitable for us, and very often cheaper than the general proposal that our customers have. And then because we align what the customer is expecting, it's also easier for us to accomplish that because it's established from the beginning. Now, the non-contract, that's your main question, is it's just a conviction. I don't think we should perform because we are under compulsion of a contract. We should perform because we promised you that we would do that, because we have the abilities to do that. So if we are delivering our promises, chances are you're not going to get rid of us. It's working. Well, why would you change it? So why a contract? Now, if we are not delivering our promise, then you should get rid of us. You should never keep a service that's not delivering what you need and what was agreed upon. But then you have a contract and you cannot do that. Or you can do that, but it's going to take you like 6 months and this and that hurdle. So I say, look, the contract here is like almost irrelevant. So let's just deliver a promise, and the responsibility to keep being your service provider is on us, not on you. So as long as we do what we promised to do, we should be good. And that's what we do. Now, it's not the only way. I don't know if it's the best way. It's just the way we do it, and it works very well for us.
I feel like there has to be a few, in planning, there has to be a few safeguards or backdrops so that you can make payroll, so that you can keep everything running and pay your bills and your expenses and all that. Meaning, I think even if you get a very big account, no account must be bigger than, say, 15% of your whole budget, because if you lose them with no contract, you have to run real fast to fix that. I feel like that's a thing. But it also, both of those options, pay for only what you need and no account, that's very sexy. Like, as marketing a business goes, that's because I'm sure that your competitor says, I need 1 year, and you buy this package and you get everything in the package. So that was the contrast, between the two. I think that's what you aimed for there, was contrast. What are the downsides to your choice? And is it easier or harder to sell with that model in place?
Great question, Chris. So what happened is, you're right. It is appealing, right? It's sexy, because what happened is, if you are a company and some companies, they say, hey, would you do like a month trial? I say, I'll do 10 years trial. I'm always on trial, right? Because you can get rid of me. So that really flattens the entry barrier, which my competitors, they have that, because, you're going to start with them, you're going to sign something, you're going to get committed, and, it might work and might not work. What I'm saying that, look, if it doesn't work, kick me out. No questions asked, nothing. Now, so that put us in the customer, and now it's our responsibility to stay there. But I'll tell you, like, our chances to stay there once we are there are much better than yesterday, right? When we didn't have them as a customer. Now, in terms of the size of customers and everything, you're super spot on. So my model, it works very well for the main drive of my business, which we are a relationship-based business. So we establish the relationship, we establish the trust and everything, and then we start doing business, right? Which means I cannot do it with Citizens Bank, you know what I mean? Because it's an RFP, like it's a request for price. There's no relationship. It's like, so we are not in that arena. We do not do like national accounts. We do not do retail. We do not do restaurants. So we are very niche, and we know where to act. In other words, we always say this, we should not be anywhere where our differential is not perceived. Because if it's not perceived, it has no value. And if it has no value, no one's going to pay for that. So it kind of limits us to probably customers up to perhaps $30,000 a month. So from $300 a month to $30,000 a month. Because that's where we can still establish relevant relationships, and even if we fail, because we are not perfect, but then because of that relationship, although they could kick us out, they will give us another chance because we are in this, we establish a partnership. And also, like if we got a $200,000 a month customer, I will need to invest probably $100,000 in equipment and everything. And then if they cancel tomorrow, now I have a problem. So that's why we also don't go to that end of to that spectrum. So we have things balanced in a certain way that the max investment that you're gonna do to start a customer, it's manageable, and we can survive even if that doesn't work.
We had a comment from Papa Brogan. That is quite an inspiring life story. I wish you and your family continued success and happiness. So he's bringing up your family. Your family is a key part of your success. So is your community. You give back to the community quite a bit. You serve on, 5 or 6 boards. Can you talk about that, why you do it? Plenty of people would be like, I've got mine. I'm plenty busy with my business, and kind of let the community side of things drop. You do not. Tell me why.
I'll tell you why. It's because once we got here in America, right, and we got opportunities. No one needed to give us any opportunities, but American people from this community, people from the business community, they gave us opportunity. I understand America as the land of opportunities, not guaranteed outcomes, opportunities. So you get the opportunity, and then you make whatever you can make of that opportunity. So the reason we give back, it's because it was given to us first. The community, the local church, the local community, the Chamber of Commerce, they gave us opportunity. And then once we got that opportunity and we made that a successful business, for me, it's just a natural thing to do, is to give back. So we give back to all the non-profit customers that we service. We give back to them. We give back to several other institutions. We donate our time, our resources, and it's a genuine desire to give back, to recognize that we wouldn't have what we have, wouldn't be where we are without the participation and the willingness to let us work and to give us that opportunity that came from America, from Americans. And so that's what we desire to give back. And some people say, I just mentioned that in another interview, that they say, well, you give because you have. And I say, I have because I give. And perhaps we're both right. It doesn't matter. It's not an end in itself. It's a consequence of what we got and how we got it, so we give back.
I like your comment about opportunity, because it is different. People sometimes have expectation, but that is very different than opportunity. Opportunity means you have to go, you move forward, you make it happen. Who do you hire? Because I don't mean just cleaners, but your business has to go when you're ready to retire. When you get in your dream car and drive around and go to the beach and things like that, what is your succession plan going to look like there? and who do you put in place that will follow your plan and your dream forward?
Yes, I would say good question, but every question has been good. So my family, which was mentioned before, so my wife is the best person that I ever knew in the entire world. She's fantastic. Some people say, "Oh man, you're so this and that." I say, "Man, you gotta know my wife. You know nothing about that." But then I have two kids. I have Gabriela and Danielle. My wife's name is Mara, and Gabriela is a registered nurse. She doesn't work with the business, but Daniel also graduated at Amherst, at UMass Amherst, in business administration, and he got his master's in business analytics. And then when he was done, I told, now that you have your master's, you're ready to be a janitor. And because that's what we are, and we are proud of being that. So Daniel works here with us, and day after day, he gets more and more knowledge, institutional knowledge, and takes over more things. So our succession plan is just, keep with the family business, keep growing at a certain pace. And we know at a certain point, we need to change the strategy, but we are ready to do that. And if there is like a selling in the future or anything, it's going to be something that's going to make all of us retire.
Speaking of community, I wanted to make sure that before we wrap, we get to your work with Metro West Free Medical Program. Talk to me about this. This is one of the ways in which you give back to the community.
It is. This is a program that services the Metro West uninsured and underinsured people. So, and also, I don't know if that was the same program, but I know my family, my wife used a similar service in the very beginning when we didn't have anything, right? No healthcare plan or anything like that. So we're services like that where she was still able to get her birth control, medication and all that stuff, exams and all that stuff. So again, give back, right? We recognize that we got that and we start giving back. So Metro West Free Medical Program does exactly that. It has a women's health clinic, and it's all free. We depend on donations and grants. And we have 2 clinics per week at the services here in Marlboro. And it's fantastic. We also have vision, and we provide everything from the exams to the glasses if needed. And we also have general health, so men, women, whatever. So some people need physical exams or blood tests or anything like that. So we provide that. We have a great number of people involved in that. Last year, we took care of over 1,300 patients, and we want to do more. So yes, there's a great product. If you're looking for a cause to give back, Metro West Free Medical Program is an excellent one.
Love it. Well, I have to do a couple duties and then we can move on from here. One of them.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
And I know it was only a week ago, so I don't exactly remember, but I don't think I've given it to Chloe in a minute. So Chloe, welcome. Not only are you a sponsor, you're a person of the day. And by the way, the person of the day is sponsored by our friend Fazia Burke. Shifting right now from book publisher to more, she is helping people with AI projects, and she has a really cool Substack newsletter at faziaburke.substack.com. That was magic how you just did that. So thank you so much. Luiz, as part of your origin story, you have said a few times, it was just a minivan in Brazil that your daughter, don't get that, daddy. But now we're here in the US. And I see a couple of cars behind you there. Which car do you need to make big that you would love to drive? Once you give the business to some of your family.
Yeah, I drive a nice car. I'm a simple man, so I'm as happy now. I drive a very nice car as I was, when I drove my Maxima 97. That was 2007. But anyhow, that's interesting as well, because someone saw me putting some chemicals on the seat of my car, and they said, "Man, don't do this." And so why not? "Oh man, it's a nice car." I said, "Look, man, the car is to serve me, not the other way around." Right? So the only reason I got this car is because of the business. So the car is going to serve the business, and I'm going to take those chemicals to the customer in this car. So I appreciate the question, and this is more like a collection, a hobby. I'm happy. I have a good car already.
Good. Well, we're at the part of the show where we ask every single guest the same question, which is, what goes in your backpack? It could be something physical. It could be something metaphorical. Kerry, what's a good example of something physical someone could add to a backpack?
An extra set of teeth, because you just never know. DJ Cumberbund from YouTube said extra set of teeth.
And then what would something metaphorical be that you can add?
Ariel Helvetica, burlesque performer, added kindness to the backpack.
So Luiz Thomaz DaCosta, what do we add to the backpack from you today, sir?
My backpack will carry faith. Through all that journey that I mentioned to you, faith was the common denominator. So no matter if we're like in trouble or on top of the world or trying to make it or washing toilets or cleaning toilets, our faith, as my personal faith and my family's, we don't impose it to anyone. We respect everyone, but our life is based on faith. We have a relationship with God, and we couldn't survive without that. So I need to carry that in my backpack.
That's a very fine answer. I like that you bring a lot of. I made it so that you were the only one on the screen when it happened. But when you said about now you have your degree, now you can be a janitor. That was the best thing I've heard on the show in months. I thought that was the really best story. My grandmother worked in a paper mill factory. She made toilet paper, she made paper towels, and Kleenex to blow your nose, and that was how she helped feed the family. So I think there's honor in jobs that sometimes people tease or make fun of, and but it's really, now I'll tell you what my grandfather did, and you'll see that there's a balance.
Your hair gets longer and mine gets shorter.
Who'd have known?